Okay, this video I am going to talk about what professional drivers do different than your typical Uber and Lyft driver that saves us a whole heck of a lot of money. Or, well, maybe it doesn't save us a whole heck of a lot of money, but when you hear the perspective and what I have to say, you can figure that out for yourself. Alright, so Uber and Lyft drivers go out in their own vehicle and they accept rides to make an income. Now, for some of these drivers, it's just part-time. You go out, you make a couple of bucks, you maybe, go out to dinner, or, pay a bill, and you're done, and it really doesn't make a difference. But a lot of people are in a position where this has to be their full-time jobs. So what happens to a lot of these people is they go out in their own cars and they're uneducated and they're not really understanding what, well, people know more now what the consequences are, but from what I'm seeing, people still aren't managing their vehicles properly. Okay, so it's at the point where drivers understand now that they're going to put a whole heck of a lot of miles and beat the crap out of their cars. Okay? But me, as a professional driver, I would never in a million years go out in my own car. None of us in this business have ever gone out in a personal car and gone to work, except on the rare circumstance where, when for whatever reason we are not in a work vehicle at the time when when we have to go pick up a personal passenger. And the only time we might use a personal car is if we're off our regular shift and another driver, and I'll get to that, is in the work car and we have to go pick up a personal, so we might use a personal car to do that. Okay? Professional drivers have a personal vehicle and or a work vehicle. We never use personal vehicles to go out on the street and make money. We do often use a work vehicle for a personal vehicle if we are only in a position to have one vehicle. But most of us have personal cars that we do not use for business, and we lease a work vehicle from someone who deals with the headaches, and we just pay a flat rate, and there are no headaches. If the car breaks down, it's their problem. I just turn it in and get another car. Or, as the rideshare professor has actually finally started to educate people on, you go out, you buy a used car with 100,000 miles on it, give or take, and you use that car for your work vehicle. And you beat the shit out of that car, and you keep fixing it, and you keep fixing it for as long as it can run. But there are very few vehicles that you can actually keep fixing and keep running and keep using to predict an income. The old Crown Vic Interceptors, you could put 400,000 or 500,000 miles on them, and the Priuses, you can put 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 100,000 miles on them. I was in a Prius that had 640,000 miles on it. We were going for 1,000. We were going for 100,000 on it until it got hit. Okay, but we still do things the way that we used to do them. We lease our cars and we share our cars. And there are drivers that are called 24 drivers, and they'll keep a car for themselves. And they only will do this if they are somebody that does not have a personal car and wants to be able to have a car 24/7 and access to a car all the time, even when they're not working. Okay, but these drivers pay by literally being married to the car. You always have to work. And you have to work, and you have to work, and you have to work. Because your lease is going to be double or triple than what it is if you share it with another driver. So the way we work things is, I would never have my own car as long as I have a personal car, except for purposes of convenience. But that's really not the best way to go. The best way to go is to have a driving partner and a potential relief driver. So what that means is basically you got a night shift driver, you have a day shift driver, and then you have a driver to be in the car. The relief driver is the driver that would be in the car so that the night driver can have a day or two off and that the day driver can have a day or two off. So the relief driver would be working 1 or 2 or 3 night shifts and 1 or 2 or 3 day shifts to fill in the gaps so that the car itself is always earning its keep. I have a personal car, which actually is a retired work car. It's a Lincoln Town car. And I used to be able to do select in it. It's too old, but in my market, it's not even worth taking out of the driveway. And I took all the insurance off of it except for my basic by law. Well, I have a little bit more liability than is required by law, but I don't use it to work in because it doesn't earn its keep. It gets 17 to 18 miles to the gallon, and it's expensive to maintain, and it's too nice to be out there putting Uber X or Lyft passengers in. So I lease a Prius and I share it with another driver, and that takes the pressure off of me. I don't have to be out there because I actually, when my Prius was 640,000 miles on it, got hit, I went to UCar and leased a car for a week for $325. And man, that's like, that's 3 shifts to cover my expenses for the week. That's 3 12-hour shifts. Because by the time I pay the $325 lease, by the time I pay $100 to $130 in gas, that's almost 3 shifts. And I'll talk about in another video what I always make on a shift that is so like clockwork. No one is going to tell me that they can make this money or that money, because I know how much money that drivers in the Phoenix market can make, and I know how much money that drivers in the Seattle market make and the Pittsburgh market make, because I've talked to drivers from those markets, and they make approximately the same thing I do, and they can tell you it's consistent too. So none of this like, yeah, you can get lucky and get a unicorn and have a really good day, But in the end, at the end of the year, when you do your taxes, it all comes out the same in the wash. Um, so I leased the car from a private party who over a period of years bought one car at a time and put drivers in them while these cars were on a cab fleet for a company that Uber put down here in Phoenix. And the time came back in 2016 where he took a vehicle, a Prius, and he logged on to Uber and Lyft, and he drove for them for a year before he painted all his lime green taxis that said discount cab on them, and he painted them all silver, and he transitioned all his drivers over to Uber and Lyft. Okay, but we still work in teams, and we lease a Prius for $300 a week. He matched me with another driver, and that guy, driver Dave, drives days. And Dave picks up the car at my house at 4 a.m. on Monday morning and drops it off at 4 p.m. on Thursday afternoon. I then go out, and my shifts that are scheduled are, I have the car all weekend. Okay, so I can work any time that I want, but what I have found after trying to play the game and, work different times of the day and getting kicked off the system because I only rested for 4 hours, not 6, or getting kicked off the system when I come back on at night because I worked from 9 to 11 or something like that and just went out and took some calls because I woke up and I was wide awake and bored, so I went out and worked. And then I came home and took a nap and then went to go out on my shift and couldn't drive because the hours were screwed up on their system. So I was told, just go out and work your shift, and that's what I do. So basically, my shift is 4 p.m. to 4 a.m. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night. I can work earlier. I can quit later. But here's the thing is, I'm not paying $325 a week. I'm only paying $160. And the reason I pay $160, driver days pays $140. We pay a total of $300 a week for the car. The car doesn't get the abuse of having a driver in it 24/7, which is nice. And either of us have the option. When the car's at his house, I can drive my personal car over to his house and pick it up if I want to work on a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday night. And if he wants to work Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday day, he can drive to my house and get it, which he doesn't ever work extra shifts, but I do. So that's why that's the deal that I made with the guy that owns the car. I just pay an extra $20 a week to have the option to go out any of those 3 days. And the only reason I pay the extra $20 is because when I go out there, I'm putting 300-400 miles on a car on a shift. So the way we work, we don't play this game with chasing surge, sitting at the airport, or anything like that. We go out and we accept rides, okay? Because that is the way to make money in this business, okay? And none of my other driver friends follow any of you guys on YouTube, any people on YouTube or anything like this. They're not involved with any of the politics. They don't pay attention to the news. They don't care. They go out and they make their money, period. End of discussion, okay? They don't get caught up in any of the stuff like I do. So, I have, because I've been exposed to all the stuff on YouTube, I've tried a bunch of different strategies. And there are some drivers out there, one in particular I'm thinking of, who thinks she's the expert and will tell you go out and do this and work the prime times. It doesn't matter. Yes, you need to work one rush hour per shift to make your money for your shift. Okay, and if you're not going to go out and work that, don't whine and complain that you can't hit $20 an hour. But I looked at her numbers really close, and she's saying she's doing all this stuff and strategizing and working in the busiest times. Okay, but looking real close at her numbers and her points on Uber Pro, she's not telling the whole story. Because I basically, like 2 weeks ago, she posted that she worked 33 hours and she made like $700 or $800, 33 hours on the Uber app. Well, I made $40 less than her, working 3 hours less than her. So we're talking the same thing. And I did not worry my little head off about having to go out and chase surge and working smart and taking the better rides and yada, yada, yada. I went out and took calls. And I just went out and I drove on my shift. And like I said, I came in 3 hours less than her for only $40 less than what she booked. Okay? So, I can tell you, I've been with Uber and Lyft for 2 years now, and it is like clockwork. I go out, and I can tell you how much I am going to make per hour for how many hours, provided that I work at least 1 hour between 4 and 5, 5 and 6, 3 and 4, and 6 and 7. So basically, 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. or 3 a.m. to 7 a.m. is the prime time. And you have to have 1 hour at each part of the day. Or how do I explain this? Okay, you need to be out there from... You need to be out there so that either at the end of your shift or the beginning of your shift, you are at least covering hours between 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Whether it's at the beginning of your shift or the end of your shift. Okay? I can do this all day long, and I will make the same exact money. Yeah, I've had to started having to put in more hours, okay, but basically, if I work a 12-hour shift, I'm going to make a minimum of $200. If I have a really good night on a Friday or a Saturday or even a Sunday, I could make as much as $240. Okay, but I'm not going to make any more money by trying to twist myself around chasing prime times or surges, or working those prime times or surges. All I'm saying is you do have to put yourself out there each day during that time frame of rush hour, of the busiest times of the day, to make your $20 an hour. And if you don't work that part of a shift, you're not gonna hit you're not gonna hit $20 an hour. So you basically, in order to hit that $20 an hour in the Phoenix market, you have to work a minimum of 5 or 6 hours, and it has to include between 3 to 7 on either end of the day. And the other thing, though, I kind of got a little bit off the subject because all that stuff was for another video, how much I really make. But if you guys are not paying yourself a lease, quote unquote, on your vehicle every day or every week, and keep it consistent what you are doing is you are borrowing money from your car that will never get paid back, and you will be short at the end of your car. Okay, if you understand what I mean by that, you will get to the point where you're sitting there with no money for a major repair and your car will be done. Instead of being able to be like, oh, well, I've got plenty of money in the bank, okay, to pay off this upside down loan. Because, well, see, that's one thing too. When you have a loan on your car, you need to be paying that loan amount of your monthly loan payment every week to keep up with your miles if you are working full time. If you own the car outright, you need to be paying yourself a minimum of $150 or $60 or even $200 a week that needs to be banked to pay for the use of your car, so that you're banking money for repairs and or for a down payment on a new vehicle, or to be able to purchase a new vehicle outright when your vehicle's done. And if you're not doing that, again, that's how you get in trouble and get stuck in this business. And you know, I know some of the other guys are like, you know, doing all this math with numbers on maintenance, and no, you need to put a substantial amount of money back. You need to pay yourself for the use of that vehicle. And again, if you have a loan on it, you need to pay it off in no more than 18 months. Or else you're going to get way upside down on your payments, and you're going to be in trouble because you're going to have a car with 200,000 miles on it with 3 to 5 years left on the loan. So yeah, this video got messed up because I don't have, on this phone I'm on, I don't have a way to stand it, mounted so that it stays up. Because this isn't usually the phone I do videos on, but I can't get enough space on, and you see me looking around. I'm trying to see how I'm supposed to look at the camera, so that I center my face. But yeah, you guys, be smart out there. You need to pay for that use of the car. It's not free. And again, thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe.